devotees, and you are all senior to me in your devotion and your steadfastness. So yeah, I always get nervous right when the click's on, and then he's saying all the names, and then what makes me feel less nervous is to glorify the Lord. So let's do it. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Janavala Givada Javi Gopi Janavala Girivada Javi Gopi Janavala Girivada Javi Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Nandana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Nandana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Nandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me just pull up so I can share my screen. We have oh phooey, I always put it wrong. Hold on, give me a second. We have several verses to spare you my Sanskrit along the way. I will say the first verse is just in English. There's a tiny bit of a purport. I'll stop a little bit along the way, but then get to the last verse where I'll do the Sanskrit and has the bulk of what I would like to share. So this is, remind ourselves, we're in this great adventure of Rukmini trying to get out of her marriage to Shishupal and marry the Supreme, to marry Krishna. And so this is Bhagavatam 10, 52, 25. O king, because Rukmi envied the Lord, he forbade his family members to give his sister to Krishna, although they wanted to. Instead, Rukmi decided to give Rukmini to Shishupal. Slight purport by the disciples of His Most Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rukmi abused his position as elder brother and acted with impure motives. He would only suffer for his decision. And we'll double back around like that. But the hubris of envying the Lord and forbidding his family members. And it's a clear abuse of power. It's a clear look at what an adharmic leader would do. And I'll be speaking about that at the end. Dark-eyed Vardarvi, that's Rukmini, was aware of this plan, and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she quickly sent a trustworthy Brahmana to Krishna. Upon reaching Dwarka, the Brahmana was brought inside by the gatekeepers and saw the primeval personality of Godhead sitting on a golden throne. It's worthy of pausing for a second and just think, there you are, outside a gate, and you're brought in, and on a golden throne is Krishna. Next verse. Seeing the Brahmana, Sri Krishna, Lord of the Brahmanas, came down from his throne and seated him. Then the Lord worshiped him, just as he himself is worshipped by the demigods. We saw a little earlier, just a quick take on this verse. We saw that Rukmini has so much hubris, Rukmi rather has so much hubris. He's abusing his power. And here we see the one that has all the power, all the opulences, Lord Krishna coming down from his throne, seating someone, and then worshiping them. What a difference in behavior. Verse 29, after the Brahmana had eaten and rested, Sri Krishna, the goal of saintly devotees, came forward. And while massaging the Brahmana's feet with his own hands, he patiently questioned him as follows. That is, I mean, you could spend the whole class just thinking about what this is like. There's Krishna on the throne, coming down to us in all his mercy, having made sure that you've eaten and you've rested. And actually, check it out, Krishna massaging the lowest part of you, your feet, with his own hands. That is how much he loves. And then patiently questioning him. This is the gold star of how we should all meet anyone. This is that concept of Titi Bhagavan, that the guest is God, that we all should be so open. Krishna is modeling for us. When someone comes, we should treat them as if they were God, as God is treating this Brahman himself. And finally, the last verse, which I'll do the Sanskrit, and we'll look, hopefully tie some of these little things along the way. Kachi Dvijabana Streha, Dharmas te vridha samaha, Vartate nati krichena, Santushta manasa shasada. In translation and purport by the most worthy and awesome devotees of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord said, O best of exalted Brahmanas, are your religious practices sanctioned by senior authorities, proceeding without great difficulty? Is your mind always fully satisfied? Purport. Here we have translated the word dharma as religious practice, although this does not fully convey the Sanskrit sense of the word. Krishna did not appear within a secular society. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's law. I'm going to read that one again. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's law. Thus, to them, the word dharma conveyed a sense of duty in general, higher principles, prescribed duties, and so on. It was automatically understood that such duties were within a religious context. I'm going to read that one again, too. It was automatically understood that such duties were within a religious context. But religion in those days was not a specific aspect or department of life, but rather a guiding light for all activities. Got to double down on this one, too. But religion in those days was not a specific aspect or department of life, but rather a guiding light for all activities. Irreligious life was considered demonic, and God's hand was seen in everything. Om Jnana Timiranda Chatjanan Janan Salakaya Takshurmi Tamina Tasmi Shri Gurjay Namaha Panchakopa Charubacha Kripa Sindhuve Vichapitanam Pavadevyo Vaishnavi No Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Kiri Kiri. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Kiri Kiri. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Kiri. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ananda Vihari. Thank you all. Please forgive me for anything. Please bless me that I can see something that will please Krishna, that will purify myself, that will honor my great Guru Dev, who has shown me so much mercy, mercy is something we'll talk about. So I'm going to read that purport again. And as I do, except for Jeffrey, because he's driving, and Ishvari Sundari, because I know she's often driving, if you can close your eyes for a second, because I want you to picture, yeah, Jeffrey, don't close your eyes. No, Jeffrey, no. I want you to picture this society that is being pictured here. So here we go. Krishna did not appear within a secular society. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's law. Thus, to them, the word dharma conveyed a sense of duty in general, higher principles, prescribed duty, and so on. It was automatically understood that such duties were within a religious context. But religion in those days was not a specific aspect or department of life, but rather a guiding light for all activities. Irreligious life was considered demonic, and God's hand was seen in everything. When I read that, what came to mind, oddly enough, that song that Louis Armstrong sings in that gruff voice. And he says, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. And when I read that, I thought, I think to myself, this world here in this purport, where God's hand is seeing everything, where religion was not a specific little department in this life, but is everywhere. That's a wonderful world. And oh, yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada, he brings up a word that is, as we'll look at, is the first word, as we all know, is the first word that is uttered out of the mouth of a very ironical person when you think about it. The first word in the Bhagavad Gita that is spoken is what? Dharma. Dharma, right? And so Prabhupada says here that he defines dharma here as he says as a religious practice. And when I went through Beta Base, in fact, he does. Most of the time, I went through the thing. Most of the time, that is what he either translated as a religious or religious practice. But as we know through other teachings, there are several other definitions that are worthy looking at that I hope to tie together today. One is, and I remember Kastuba Das gave a wonderful class long, long ago. And he says that one of the definitions of dharma is duty. Yeah, is duty. And I remember Kastuba said that having a sense of duty is the beginning, because having a sense of duty is a step up from that very karmic way of living, where you don't really care about anything, when you don't see there is any sort of consequence. There is nothing above you. The karmic way of living is like, it's the me show. I'm in the center and I try to get everything to revolve around me. And Kastuba said, at least when we have a sense of duty, it's not the end, but at least we have a sense of duty. We understand that there is something above us. We understand that there are some consequences, and that is a step up. And I think today that even if people had a small amount of duty, just a small amount of duty to do the right thing, that would be a huge step up from where we are today. And then there's two other definitions of dharma that I really think wrap around each other. Yeah. And that is that definition of that which sustains. That which sustains. And then I'm going to wrap that right into a definition that my Guru Dev says a lot. And I have a button made of him saying it in a really cute, short way. When he says that dharma, particularly the dharma of a leader, is to do the right thing, even if it's not the easy thing for you. To do the right thing, even if it's not the easy thing for you. And when we put that together, I was thinking with the concept of dharma as being that which sustains, what does sustain a society? We talk about somebody being a pillar of society, right? That a pillar is something that holds something up. I was thinking if the people that are in leadership did continually make the choices that were dharmic choices, that were choices that serve the people and the countries and whatever is put in their care, and you wrap it around that definition. I'm doing an ego pose. Wrap it around that definition of that which sustains. That is a pillar that sustains. And we have no further to look than Krishna himself. When Krishna comes down to play king, who does he choose to play? Lord Ram, who is the very embodiment of Dharma. When we read the Ramayana again and again and again and again and again, how many times is Lord Ram asked to make that choice, to make the choice to what is easy, what is pleasurable for him, or make the choice that is good for the people? And he never flinches. Even for people that know the Ramayana, he does that thing at the end that makes him look really bad, really bad, and quite ununderstandable if you don't know the context, but he does it. He does it. And that's what a leader should do. And I always think to myself, I'm not a leader of a country, God knows. But all of us at some point are a leader of something. And I think to myself, like, I can't point my finger at leaders that are dharmic if I am not myself trying to be in whatever capacity I have as leadership in my family, at my work. If I'm not trying to be this being that sustains by making the choice of understanding that, I love that term, steward leadership, that things and people are putting in my care, that things are not working for me, I am working for them. Right? If I don't do that in my small scale, how can I possibly expect leaders anywhere to do it? So I always choose to make this not about like, look at you, look at you, look at you, but look at me. Especially when looking at, getting back to the first word of the Bhagavad Gita, we know who's spoken by, Dhritarashtra. And the poster child, the poster child of being adharmic, of not making choices that were better for everyone, who literally and figuratively turns a blind eye to the actions of his children, who does things to maintain power, the complete opposite of not protecting the five pandavas are put underneath his care. That is not the behavior of a leader. And so it's almost laughable that the first word out of his mouth in the Bhagavad Gita is dharma, the thing that he is so much not living. And so we can see the contrast through, isn't it interesting that so many of the stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam are about what? Are about kings, about these righteous kings. And we can rattle them off. We got them all. I was going back to Runty Dave. I forget about him. Like, so many righteous kings. And so I'd like to take us back to this great king who, because of him, we are able to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. This righteous king, that is Arjuna's grandson, right? King Parikshit. And let's remind ourselves who King Parikshit is. I mean, he's the grandson of Arjuna. He's a son of Abhimanyu. And I've never seen a dramatic version of the Mahabharata, but I think the part that would break my heart is the most of Abhimanyu running in, breaking the phalanx, saying, I can do it. And everyone follow me. And he gets into the middle of all those troops and he turns around and the wall of the opposing troops traps him because they can't get in. And he fights with all of his might, but he's outnumbered. And then Arjuna comes back and says, where's my son? Where's my son? And he's gone. And so King Parikshit, to remind ourselves, is Abhimanyu's son, who was still in the womb of his mother, who was getting ready to be attacked by this great weapon, but she calls to Krishna. And Krishna appears in her womb to protect King Parikshit. And so because he gets this vision of God in the womb, he ever searches for it. And that's why he's called the examiner. always looking, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? And so he becomes this great king. And he eventually comes face to face with the personification of Dharma. And so I'd like to read a little bit. And this will be Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 16th chapter, verse 10. Sutta Goswami said, while Maharaj Parikshit was residing in the capital of the Kuru Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali, the age of dissent, the age of quarrel, began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. This is King Parikshit. He took up his bow and arrows and prepared himself for military activities. A little bit of the purport. The state administration of Maharaj Parikshit was so perfect. Here we see Dharma King, administration so perfect that he was sitting in his capital peacefully. But he got the news that the symptoms of the age of Kali had already infiltrated into the jurisdiction of his state, and he did not like the news. He didn't sit there, oh, I'm hearing stuff, but it's not affecting me. I'm sitting peacefully. No, what's happening? What's happening? I don't like it. It goes on to tell us what are the symptoms of Kali? Oh, let's tick them off with our fingers. They are illicit connection with women, indulgence in meat eating, intoxication, and taking pleasure in gambling. Those sound familiar because what? Those are what the four regulative principles protect us against in this age of Kali. The age of Kali literally means the age of quarrel. And the above mentioned four symptoms in human society are the root causes for all kinds of quarrel. Maharaj Parikshit heard that some of the people of the state had already taken to these symptoms, and he wanted to take immediate steps against such causes of unrest. This means that at least up to the regime of Maharaj Parikshit, such symptoms of public life were practically unknown. And as soon as they were slightly detected, he wanted to root them out. So up until this time, this did not exist. And the minute he heard something about it, again, he didn't sit back on his throne. He got up and decided to do something about it. So off he goes. And as King Parikshit is traveling, a very interesting conversation takes place between the embodiment of Dharma, who is said to be a bull like a white lotus, but it is standing only on one leg because its other legs have been literally cut out from underneath it. And this bull of Dharma is having a conversation with the embodiment of the earth, which takes the shape of a cow. And so I'd like to read you a little bit of this conversation. This is Bhagavatam 1:16, 18. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows. And I love this small part. There is Dharma so beaten down it's on one leg, and it takes the time to first inquire. It doesn't say, look at me, I'm beat to crap, I got one leg. Let me first ask you, Mother Cow, Mother Earth, what's up? Dharma, in the form of the bull, asked, Madam, are you not hale and healthy? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease? Are you thinking of some relative who is away at a distant place? Yeah. And so he inquires about what's going on with her. And she gives back this beautiful explanation of what is going on with her. What's going on with her is that Krishna has left. The earth is bereft because Krishna is left, and I don't have the time for it because I'm going to get to other things. But in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:16, 26, she gives this beautiful list of qualities of Krishna. I'll just read a few. She says, in Krishna reside truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance of another's unhappiness, the power to control anger, other things like complete independence, fullness of beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, joyfulness, fidelity. She mentions this long list, and this is why she is bereft. And so this conversation goes on between the bull of Dharma and the earth, who is so bereft. And in time, King Parikshit comes across this bull. And at the time, it is being beaten savagely by someone who is dressed up like a king, but they're not a king. They're a Shudra. And we know that it is often said in Kali Yuga, there are no real kings, they're just Shudras. And some people were all sort of Shudras and would all take on different roles. But the Sudra is actually Kali, the Kali Yuga personified. And it is beating this bull, and the bull is only down to one single leg. King Parikshit roars in anger, and Kali knows that it's on the ropes. It knows that King Parikshit can kill it. But what does it do? It actually does a really smart thing. It takes its hands and it asks for mercy. It asks for mercy. And it says, this is Bhagavatam 1:17-37. Therefore, or chief among the protectors of religion, he's calling out to King Parikshit, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. He asks, please give me shelter, because he knows, as the purport will go on to say, if you ask for shelter, you will be given it, because that is the mercy of King Parikshit. That is the mercy. That is Dharma. One of the legs of Dharma is mercy. And so Kali does a really smart thing. He asks for mercy because he knows King Parikshit will give it, because he knows King Parikshit is a Dharmic king. And so where does King Parikshit give him to reside? We already heard them. Places where there is gambling, meat eating, intoxication, and illicit sex. But then here's the interesting thing. Kali says, wait, that's not good enough, because hardly any of that is going on. You haven't given me any place really to live, because there hardly isn't any gambling. There hardly isn't any intoxication. There hardly isn't any meat eating or illicit sex. You got to give me something. I can't really live there. There's nothing. And so where does King Parikshit give him also? Gold. Because where's that purport? Really quickly. Although Maharaj Parikshit, this is the purport to 1:17-39. Although Maharaj Parikshit gives Kali permission to live in 4 places, it was very difficult for him to find the places, because during the reign of Mahaparikshit, there was no such places. Therefore, Kali asked the king to give him something practical, which could be utilized for his nefarious purposes. Maharaj Parikshit thus gave him permission to live in a place where there is gold, because where there is gold, there are the above mentioned 4 things. And over and over and above them, there's enmity also. So he gives him gold, because he knows that where this wealth, where this gold goes, those other things will follow. And so I want to, I'll stop at 7:50, like I know I must. I just want to get to these four legs that intertwined made up Dharma. And the bull of Dharma only has one left, but the others were this mercy. And we see this mercy right here with King Parikshit. Being so merciful, even gives Kali, the personification of this time of quarrel, gives mercy. Shakespeare wrote beautifully that the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him who takes. 'Tis the mightiest of the mighty. It becomes the throne monarch better than his crown. Right? We see the quality every day with the mercy we received from our gurus. We see the mercy of Lord Chaitanya giving us the Maha Mantra. We see Lord Nityananda running through the streets, as Achyuta Gopis once said, saying the Maha Mantra, take it, take it, take it, take this mercy. We see the mercy of Draupadi when the murderer of her sons is brought before her. And she says, I don't want another mother to feel what I was seeing. We see the mercy in the devotees of Srila Prabhupada as our gurus. mercy, compassion. The other limb that one of the other limbs is purity. And even if I came up through the Yoga Sutras because I am a yoga teacher. And so in these things called the niyamas, the first thing is socha, purity of heart, and purity of body. In this great book, the Book of Dharma by Simon Haas, he has a lot of stories, but I do not have the time to read it. But this is what he says. It's a wonderful book. This is a book that you could give to anybody and they get it. Such a good book. Simon Haas talks about purity as there are qualities that nurture life, like gratitude, humility, and lightheartedness. There are also qualities that inhibit life, like anger, resentment, and discontent. Purity is about differentiating between what sustains life and what inhibits it. I love that definition. What sustains life and what's inhibited. And then the other limb is tapas, austerity. And we know, what was the first word that Lord Brahma heard? Not om, party, party, party. Not om, sense gratification, sense gratification, sense gratification. Om, austerity, austerity, austerity. To control the senses. Because the senses make very bad masters, as it says. If we don't have this austerity, if we don't control the senses, we will be drawn more and more into the material world. We'll be drawn more and more away from our true nature. Tapasya, go in, go in, go in. And then the last limb that the Buddhas actually landed up standing on, the only one he has left, is satya, truthfulness. And I've heard Radhanath Maharaj say so many times that you can give everything away. You can, have everything taken from you. You can have everything taken from you. But your integrity, you have to give away. Only you can give out your integrity. Only you can give away your integrity. This sense of that I know what's right and that I'm going to live it no matter what. Only we can give that away. And it is to live a life with sincerity, right? To live a life where we're integrated. That which we are on the outside, we are on the inside. And so those four legs, and Simon Haas in this Book of Dharma talks about them as ropes being wrapped around each other. And like a single thread, you can break, can't you? But if things are webbed together, they are able to sustain like a pillar. So let us, and I think about them, thinking about this, and it's been the gift of this verse, let us in our own life see how we can have these dharmic thoughts of trying to live a life, that is dharmic, of trying to embody these characteristics that are merciful, compassionate, that are pure, differentiating what is life-sustaining, what is not. Tapasya, the discipline, and satya, this integrity of ourselves. And maybe in this way, we can all be pillars of society in our own little way. So I'll stop here. There's much more I want to say. It's ages and pages of notes and other things to read, but time goes so quickly. So please forgive me. I open now to any corrections, any chastisements, and just saying hello. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. What a wonderful class. Your determination and your excitement in Krishna consciousness, those things are contagious. Thank you very much for transmitting those over Zoom to us here. Time to reflect, dear devotees. Let's do it. Gail has her hand up. Gail is here. Good morning, Gail.
Hey, Gail.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Jamuna. Yeah, always, as Ananda says, your classes are so wonderfully animated. Yes, one thing that you mentioned very briefly when you were describing Krishna's characteristics, that he, like the typical characteristic of a devotee, cannot bear to see another's suffering.
Yeah.
And I know that, Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma, and he he comes himself and he sends his dear disciples to kind of rescue us, but that just caught my attention, that particular quality, because there is so much inconceivable suffering in
Mm-hmm.
this world that
Mm-hmm.
that quality of it is not at all obvious.
Mm-hmm.
you know and you know and that's the reason why many people don't even believe in a god, because how could there be a god when there's so much, I mean, unimaginable suffering, you know so I mean, I know in our philosophy we talk about the fact that he does come, he gives away, he breaks open the storehouse, of love of God, and distributes. But unless you have that faith, is beautiful. And even if you do have that faith, that particular quality of Christians is just not the most obvious thing, you know. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's just basically a comment, I guess.
yeah, I hear you. It is, there is so much, and I'd love to hear other folks' thoughts in it. The way that I sometimes think about, because it does take a lot of faith, and it does take to see that quality, it takes that sort of radical responsibility. I was talking to somebody who's been through a really hard time, and I was feeling it for them. And then they said that thing. It's like, well, it's for my purification, they said. And I'm like, wow, that is seeing on such a high plane that they are able to say, and it's a rough thing that they just went through. I'm seeing as my purification. And I relate that to my work in the hospital. Like, I see doctors treat children, and what they have to do to them, it's heinous. And especially little kids, they don't understand what's happening, and the doctors stand back. And I've even seen, and so these are pediatricians, and they're special souls. I've seen the pediatricians almost with tears in their eyes, because they don't want the pain, but they know why they're doing it. They know, if I give you this thing, if you drink this awful medicine, if I put you through this, that there's on the other side is your better good. So I think of it like that. I feel like Krishna's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, honey, I don't want you to suffer, but if you do, this is the poison that at the end is going to be nectar, right? That, like, hang on, I don't want you to suffer. And even I think for myself, if I directly, not to blame suffering on people, we don't do that, but I think, okay, if I can just see beyond the hump, right? If I can just see beyond the hump, what's there. But it is a tough one, but that's what I use. I see that analogy because I see it all the time, because I see those doctors standing back, and they're like, and I sometimes that's for people that know, I'm a clown in hospitals for children. So I then go to the doctors, and I'm like, that was a rough one, wasn't it? Because they don't like to see it, but they know it's for the child's own good.
Yeah, yeah, very nice perspective.
Uh,
Nice reminder. Thank you. Mm.
thank you, Gail. Adipurusha, do you have anything?
Thank you for speaking into our life. We were reading last night about one prophet from the Bible. Now, a lot of prophets, where the Lord sends somebody, Krishna's so wonderful. He sends people like you to jolt us out of our, what we've forgotten, out of our forgetfulness. And this one prophet, Micaiah, I think his name was, the king wanted advice, so he called 400 other prophets. They all worked for him, and they only wanted to tell him what he wanted to hear. And for Micaiah to speak the truth, if somebody just walked up and hit him in the face, he wasn't afraid to speak the truth, even though it wasn't very popular or palatable. We want to make it as palatable as possible. We can't pull our punches, in one sense. And just like the emperor had Chanakya Pandit as his advisor, but Chanakya Pandit he didn't live in the palace. He had a little hut out in the forest, and didn't take any salary. He didn't want to become a puppet. He didn't want to be restricted in being able to just tell it as it is. And we're grateful for the people that Krishna sent into our life like that, who can speak clearly and and courageously, not flattering, not just unnecessarily harsh, but just very, very strong. Sometimes they say speaking truth to power. We had, I don't know, how much time do we have here? I'll just tell one quick story. You know,
7:56.
Geraldo Rivera, you know who that is?
Yeah.
So we go, it says the brahmachari is supposed to go out morning and evening and approach people and encourage them, request, and inspire them to give donation for their benefit. And it gives us, reinforces our own faith and is pleasing to Krishna. And so I was across the street from the Bhakti Center. There's a little street leading in there to First Avenue. And I had these, shloka stickers. And as the cars would stop at the light, I would give somebody a sticker and explain to them how we're distributing hot meals for the homeless and ask for a donation. So Geraldo Rivera comes driving up in this great big white Cadillac, top down. It was a convertible. And he's in the car by himself. And the car stops, and I said, Mr. Rivera. He looks at me. Well, yeah, may I address you as Geraldo? He says, yes, you may address me as Geraldo. I gave him I said, we're supposed to give you one. Oh, we're supposed to give me one of these, huh? What is this about? I said, well, we're feeding the homeless, and we're asking if you'll give a donation. So he went like his head was like shaking, and he said, son, now I was like, my body was 65 years old at the time. I had a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt and a baseball hat on. He said, son, I can't tell you, I've never felt so torn. He said, I've been embedded on the battlefield with troops and war zones. I've spoken truth to power to leadership people all over the planet. I've been on international television. And here I am, you're asking me to give money. And I hear a voice saying, don't do it. I actually hear a voice saying, don't do it. I said, well, Geraldo, we're sincere, and if somebody cheats you, that'll come back to them. Don't worry about it. But anyway, it's always appropriate to give a donation, and that we're doing this in God's name. Oh, it's for God. Oh, it's for God. It's like
Like it's a bad thing.
yeah, I'm not afraid to tell you that we're trying to do something in the service of the Lord. He was like, well, okay. And then he gave a donation. But it was like, the dynamic there of approaching someone, and like he used his own words, speaking truth to power, and boldly but humbly, encouraging them to do something for their benefit. Not that we're trying to get anything from them, trying to give them a chance to engage in devotional service, is very interesting, and we're called to do that. And you're doing it so nicely. I want to be like you when I grow up.
I'm going to take that the way you taught me to. I accept it on behalf of His Holiness Danyanar Swami, your compliment.
That's right. When you give credit to your guru, that's wonderful.
Oh, Henry asked, so did he give? Did he give money?
Yes, he gave a donation.
Yeah.
But he was so shook. He said, I feel so, he used a word, starts with a C, I can't remember, but torn. And here you are, I hear this voice telling me, don't do it, and then I look at you and you're smiling at me. I've never felt so torn. I've been in terrible situations, but I can't tell you why I feel so pulled in two directions at this point.
Maybe conflicted. The word that began with the
Yeah.
C.
That's a good one, Gail. That's a good one. Conflicted, something like that. So we want to be able to approach other people and share Krishna consciousness with others and help them to benefit. But sometimes it's difficult for them and difficult for us. But I was reading about that prophet last night and how when he spoke the truth, even though the 400 other people were telling the king what he wanted to hear, he was saying something different. They were ready to kill him. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
we
like,
see that in Vidura and Bibisan. I think about that a lot. You know, Vidura's always trying to talk to Dhritarashtra. Bibisan's always trying to talk to Ravana, trying to tell them you're going the wrong way. And in that case, it's like they're brothers. I think about that a lot. That they're just so wrapped up. They're not listening at all. Thank you, Adi.
of course,
Anybody else have any corrections, any comments they would like?
Jamuna Jaya, what are the guardrails for speaking the truth to the power? In other words, how do you know that you're the one telling the truth? And
Ah, well, that's easy. Actually, easy question to answer. Guru Sada Shastra. My god sister Bhakti Devi, she's not here right now. No, she's not here right now. But she loves to ask the question. It's an interesting question. She always says, "Would you know God if he came? If he came, like walked in front of you, do you think you would recognize him?" She loves to ask people that question, and she asked that question to me, and I said, I am so contaminated. I'm not sure, but I know who does know, and I would ask them. Shishi Mother, Shishi Gorachandra Ki. Thank you, y'all.
Jamuna Jaya ki jai. Hare Krishna. Wonderful class. Yeah, what if Bhima Prabhu is God and we fail to recognize that? Jai, Shishi Rana Murlidhar, Shigur Chandra Ki Jai. Jamuna Jai, I'm like super fired up to become a pure devotee today, finally, after your class. I'll try to last till the next time you give class, but I'll probably fall down very quickly. But thank you. Wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful day. I have to go clown around now.
All right. Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. We love
Okay.
you. Thanks to everyone
Love
on
you.
this call. All right, Krishna, good to
Hare
see you.
Krishna.
We love you. Come again tomorrow. All right, Krishna. And recognize God if he shows up by any chance in your life.